Marcus stood in the back of the engagement party in his prison clothes, champagne dripping from his hair. His wife had just poured an entire bottle over his head. In front of 200 guests. At her engagement party. To another man. The party she'd told him was his welcome home surprise. Marcus had been released from prison 3 hours ago. 8 years behind bars. The letter from Vivian said, "Don't come home. Go straight to this address. I planned something special. The girls can't wait." This was special. Watching his wife kiss another man on stage. Watching 200 people in designer clothes laugh as she walked toward him with a champagne bottle. Watching her pop the cork and pour it over his head without saying a word. Cold liquid ran down his face. Soaked his gray prison sweatshirt. Pooled in his worn sneakers. The crowd pulled out their phones. Started recording. Daniel, Vivian's new fiancé, stepped forward. "You don't belong here. Leave." Vivian's face was ice. "That's for 8 years you stole from me." Marcus's twin daughters cried beside him. Security moved toward him. Every phone pointed at his face. Then the doors burst open. A man in an expensive suit walked in. Behind him, government officials. News cameras. People in black suits with badges. The man walked straight to Marcus. Looked at the champagne soaking his clothes. "Marcus," the man said. "What happened?" Vivian's face went white. Because she recognized him. James Park. Billionaire CEO. Worth $4.2 billion. James turned to the crowd. "I'm here to honor my business partner. The man who owns 20% of my company. The man worth $840 million. He gestured to Marcus. "Marcus Chen. My chief operating officer. The man your host just assaulted." Vivian's champagne glass shattered on the floor. But what she didn't know, what nobody knew, was that Marcus hadn't gone to prison for his own crime. He'd gone for hers. And he had proof. If you watch without subscribing, you're like the guests who recorded and did nothing. Subscribe now. Tell me where you're watching from. 10 years ago, Marcus and Vivian Chen owned Chen Textiles. Luxury fabric wholesale. They'd built it together from nothing. Started in a garage. Grew it to $50 million. They had twin daughters, Emma and Sophie. Life was perfect. Until it wasn't. Marcus had been away on a business trip to Italy. 3 weeks. Securing contracts with European fashion houses. Big contracts. The kind that would triple their business. When he came back, Vivian was waiting at the airport. Mascara running. Hands shaking. "Something happened," she said. They drove home in silence. The girls were at Vivian's mother's house. It was just them. Vivian sat on the couch. Wouldn't look at him. "There's money missing. From the business account. $15 million. Marcus's stomach dropped. "What?" "I made some investments. While you were gone. I thought I could grow the business faster. Make you proud. But they didn't work out and now." Her voice broke. "Now the investors are asking questions. They're threatening to audit. Marcus, if they find out, will lose everything." Marcus pulled up the accounts on his laptop. She was right. $15 million gone. Transferred out in chunks over 3 weeks. While he was in Italy. "What did you invest in?" Marcus asked. "A startup. They said it was guaranteed returns. 300% in 6 months. I thought." She started crying. "I'm so sorry. I ruined everything." Marcus looked at his wife. The woman he'd built a life with. The mother of his children. Crying on their couch because she'd made a mistake. "We'll figure it out," Marcus said. "We'll get lawyers. We'll explain. It was a bad investment, not fraud. We can fix this." But Vivian shook her head. "The investors are already talking to the police. They think someone embezzled. If they investigate, they'll find the transfers. They'll see my name. Marcus, I'll go to prison. And the girls, what happens to Emma and Sophie?" Marcus pulled her close. "Nothing happens to the girls. Nothing happens to you. I'll handle it." "How?" Marcus was quiet for a long time. Then he said something he'd regret for the next 8 years. "I'll say I did it." Vivian pulled back. "What?" "I'll say I made the transfers. I forged the documents. I took the money. You knew nothing about it." Marcus grabbed her hands. "I can survive prison. You can't. And the girls need their mother." "Marcus, no. You can't." "I can. And I will." He kissed her forehead. "Just promise me you'll wait. Take care of the girls. Keep the business running. And when I get out, we'll start over." Vivian cried into his chest. "I promise. I love you so much." Marcus believed her. That was his first mistake. His second mistake was not looking at those bank transfers more carefully. Because if he had, he would have seen something interesting. The money didn't go to any startup. It went to an offshore account. In the Cayman Islands. In the name of Daniel Park. Vivian's college boyfriend. The man she'd dated before Marcus. The man she told Marcus she'd lost touch with years ago. But Vivian hadn't lost touch with Daniel. She'd been seeing him for 2 years. Meeting him on business trips. Calling him from client dinners. Texting him from their bedroom while Marcus slept beside her. And when Daniel said he wanted to start a business but needed capital, Vivian had an idea. Take money from Chin Textiles. Make it look like fraud. Let Marcus take the blame. Wait 8 years. Then leave Marcus and start a new life with Daniel and $15 million in untraceable offshore money. It was perfect. And Marcus walked right into it. The trial lasted 3 weeks. Marcus's lawyer tried to argue it was bad investments, not embezzlement. But the prosecution had documents. Forged transfer authorizations with Marcus's signature. Emails from Marcus's account discussing the transfers. Bank logs showing the money moving while Marcus was in Italy. Mr. Chun had full access and motive, the prosecutor said. He was losing major contracts. The business was struggling. He took investor money to cover losses and hoped no one would notice. None of it was true. But it looked true. The jury found him guilty. Corporate fraud. Embezzlement. 8 years. Marcus served every day of those 8 years in Riverbend Correctional. Medium security. Not violent, but not easy. 8 years of concrete walls and metal bars, and the smell of industrial cleaning products mixed with sweat. Vivian visited once a month for the first 3 years. Brought the girls. Cried. Told him how hard it was. How much she missed him. How she was keeping the business alive by a thread. I'm trying, Marcus, Vivian would say through the glass partition. But it's so hard. The investors are circling. The clients are leaving. I don't know how much longer I can hold on. Marcus would tell her to stay strong. Tell her he loved her. Tell her it would all be worth it when he got out. Year 4, the visits slowed. Once every 2 months. Then every 3 months. The girls stopped coming. They're busy with school, Vivian said. You understand. Marcus understood. Year 5, Vivian stopped visiting altogether. Just letters. Short letters. Everything's fine. Girls are good. Business is surviving. Love you. Marcus wrote back longer letters. Asking about the girls. Asking about the business. Asking when she'd visit next. Her responses got shorter. Soon. Busy. Love you. Then the letters stopped. For 3 years, Marcus heard nothing. No visits. No letters. No phone calls. Nothing. He told himself she was busy. Told himself she was protecting the girls from seeing him like this. Told himself when he got out, everything would be fine. He was wrong. What Marcus didn't know was that in year 3, Vivian had sold Chin Textiles. Sold it for $40 million to a private equity firm. Told everyone the business couldn't survive without Marcus. She kept the money. All of it. Added it to the $15 million already sitting in Daniel's offshore account. Then she told everyone, friends, family, the girls, that the business had gone bankrupt. That they'd lost everything. That they were barely surviving. She moved into a smaller house. Drove a normal car. Dressed down. Played the struggling single mother role perfectly. But every weekend, she flew to Miami. Stayed in Daniel's penthouse. Wore designer clothes. Drank expensive wine. Planned their future. 8 years, Daniel said, holding her on his balcony overlooking the ocean. Then he gets out. Then we can finally be together. Publicly. 8 years, Vivian agreed. And she waited. But in year 6, something happened that Vivian didn't plan for. James Park visited Marcus in prison. James and Marcus had been college roommates. Best friends. They'd lost touch after graduation when James went into venture capital and Marcus went into textiles. But James had heard about Marcus's conviction. Had followed the case. And something didn't sit right. So James dug. Hired investigators. Looked at the paper trail. And found something interesting. The timing of the transfers. The offshore accounts. The fact that Vivian had sold Chin Textiles 3 years into Marcus's sentence and claimed bankruptcy while living comfortably. James couldn't prove fraud. Not yet. But he suspected. So he visited Marcus. Sat across from him in the prison visiting room. I know you didn't do it, James said. Marcus looked at his old friend. Doesn't matter. I confessed. You're protecting her. Marcus said nothing. James leaned forward. I can't get you out, but I can give you something to come out to. What? I'm starting a sustainable textile company. Ecolux. I need someone who knows the industry. Someone I trust. You. I'm in prison. Not forever. When you get out, you'll be my COO. 20% equity. I'm investing $500 million to start. If this works the way I think it will, you'll be rich. Marcus laughed. Bitter. You're offering a convicted felon a job? I'm offering my friend a future. Marcus looked at James. At this man who believed in him when no one else did. Why? Because you took the fall for someone you loved. That's not weakness. That's loyalty. And I need loyal people. James slid papers across the table. Sign this. Trust me. Marcus signed. He had nothing to lose. Over the next 2 years, James built Ecolux. Sustainable fabrics. Eco-friendly manufacturing. Perfect timing as fashion brands shifted toward sustainability. The company exploded. $500 million became $1 billion. Then $2 billion. Then $4 billion. Marcus knew none of this. James didn't tell him. Wanted it to be a surprise. When Marcus was released on November 15th, he walked out of Riverbend with $200 in gate money and the clothes on his back. Gray sweatpants. Gray sweatshirt. White sneakers. James had sent a car. Told Marcus to go to a specific address. Said there was a welcome event. Marcus thought it was a small gathering. James and maybe a few others. He had no idea James had coordinated with the Secretary of Commerce. Had arranged a National Innovation Award ceremony. Had invited press and executives and government officials. All to publicly honor Marcus Chun on his first day of freedom. But the address Marcus had was wrong. James had given him the wrong address by mistake. Or maybe not by mistake. Maybe James's assistant had mixed up 2 addresses. Because the address James sent Marcus to was the Azure Estate. The same venue where Vivian was hosting her engagement party. The same party Vivian had told Marcus about in her final letter, making sure he came. Marcus had arrived at 4 p.m., 3 hours after his release. Still in his prison clothes because he had nothing else. And walked straight into the worst moment of his life. Until it became the best. Now, standing in that garden with champagne soaking his clothes and James Park announcing to 200 people that Marcus was worth $840 million, everything changed. Vivian's legs gave out. She grabbed Daniel's arm, but he stepped back. Let her fall. She hit the marble on her knees. No, Vivian whispered. No, that's not possible. He's an ex-convict. He is nothing. He is 20% of my company, James said. His voice was ice. Which makes him the second richest person in this garden. Richer than everyone here. Including you, Mrs. Chun. Ms. Hart, Vivian corrected automatically. I took back my maiden name. Right. Because you divorced him while he was in prison. After he took the fall for your fraud. James turned to the crowd. Did she mention that part? That Marcus went to prison for embezzling money she stole? That he protected her? That he spent 8 years in a cell so she could keep her freedom? The crowd gasped. Vivian's face went white. That's not true. He confessed. He confessed to protect you and your daughters. James pulled out his phone. I have the bank records. The real ones. Showing transfers from Chun Textiles to an offshore account in Daniel Park's name. Transfers made while Marcus was in Italy. Transfers authorized by you, Vivian. He showed the screen to the crowd. People leaned in. Cameras zoomed. Vivian stood up. Shaking. You're lying. Those are fake. I'm not lying. And I've already given copies to the FBI. James gestured to the people in suits standing near the door. They're here now, ready to take your statement. 2 FBI agents stepped forward. Showed their badges. Vivian Chin, one of them said, We need you to come with us. We have questions about financial irregularities related to Chun Textiles and offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands. No. Vivian backed away. No, this is a mistake. I didn't do anything. Marcus confessed. He went to prison. This is insurance fraud, bank fraud, wire fraud, perjury. The agent counted on her fingers. And that's just what we found in the last week. If Marcus decides to press charges for the original embezzlement, we can add conspiracy and obstruction. Vivian looked at Marcus. Really looked at him for the first time since he'd arrived. He stood there in his prison clothes, champagne still dripping from his hair, daughters on either side of him. Not moving. Not speaking. Just watching her. Marcus, Vivian said. Her voice broke. Please. You can't let them do this. We were married. We have children together. Please. Marcus didn't respond. Vivian fell to her knees. Actually fell. Hands on the marble. Please. I made a mistake. I was young and stupid and I thought I loved Daniel, but I was wrong. It was always you. It was always. Stop. Marcus's voice cut through her pleading. Quiet but firm. Just stop. Vivian looked up at him. Mascara running. Dressed dirty. Desperate. You didn't make a mistake, Marcus said. You made a choice. You chose to steal. You chose to let me go to prison. You chose to sell our business and keep the money. You chose to plan an engagement party on my release day, so you could humiliate me one last time. His voice stayed calm. Level. Those weren't mistakes. Those were choices. I'm sorry, Vivian sobbed. I'm so sorry. Please. Give me another chance. I'll make it right. You can't make this right. Marcus looked at his daughters. At Emma and Sophie standing beside him. But you can answer one question. Did you ever love me? Even in the beginning. Vivian opened her mouth. Closed it. Tears streamed down her face. She didn't answer. That was answer enough. Marcus turned to Emma and Sophie. Get your things. You're coming with me. The girls didn't hesitate. They turned and walked toward the estate house where they'd been staying. Marcus followed them. Walked past Vivian kneeling on the ground. Past Daniel standing frozen. Past 200 guests recording everything. James fell into step beside him. The car's outside. I have clothes for you. Real clothes. And we have a ceremony to get to. Ceremony? The Secretary of Commerce is waiting to give you the National Innovation Award. For sustainable manufacturing. We were supposed to arrive together, but... James gestured at Marcus's champagne-soaked clothes. This happened. Marcus looked down at himself. I can't accept an award looking like this. You're accepting it exactly like this. You just got out of prison 3 hours ago and you're already worth $840 million. You're wearing champagne that your ex-wife poured on you. And you're about to stand on stage with government officials while she gets arrested. James smiled. The optics are perfect. Behind them, FBI agents were talking to Vivian. Reading her rights. Daniel was arguing with another agent. Guests were uploading videos to social media. Emma and Sophie came out of the house with small bags. Ready, Dad. Marcus looked at his daughters. Really looked at them. They'd grown up without him. 18 years old. About to start college. Beautiful. Strong. They'd chosen him over their mother. That meant everything. Let's go, Marcus said. They walked out of the Azure estate together. Behind them, Vivian was being led to an FBI vehicle in handcuffs. She screamed Marcus's name. Begged. Cried. Marcus didn't look back. The ceremony was held at the National Innovation Center downtown. Press. Government officials. Business leaders. All gathered to honor Marcus Chin for his contributions to sustainable textile manufacturing. Marcus stood on stage in his prison clothes, champagne stains drying on his sweatshirt, and accepted the National Innovation Award from the Secretary of Commerce. Mr. Chin represents the best of American innovation, the Secretary said. Despite facing tremendous personal hardship, he contributed to revolutionary advances in sustainable manufacturing. His work will change the textile industry for generations. The crowd applauded. Cameras flashed. Marcus looked out at the audience. At James standing in the front row, smiling. At Emma and Sophie sitting beside James, crying proud tears. At the life he thought he'd lost but somehow got back. Thank you, Marcus said into the microphone. His voice was rough. He wasn't used to speaking in front of crowds. 8 years ago, I made a choice to protect someone I loved. It cost me everything. My freedom. My business. My family. My reputation. He paused. I thought I was being noble. I thought sacrifice meant something. But I learned something in prison. Sacrifice only matters if the person you're protecting is worth it. He looked directly at the camera. At the live stream broadcasting to thousands of people online. The person I protected wasn't worth it. She took everything I gave her and used it to build a life with someone else. While I sat in a cell, she lived in luxury. And when I got out, she tried to destroy me one final time. The room was silent. Everyone listening. But she failed. Because while she was building her life on my sacrifice, my friend James was building something else. A future. A company. A second chance. Marcus gestured to James. He gave me equity in his company when I had nothing. He trusted me when no one else would. He gave me a reason to survive those 8 years. Marcus's voice got stronger. So to everyone watching this who feels trapped, who feels like they've lost everything, who feels like one bad choice destroyed their life, I'm here to tell you it didn't. You can rebuild. You can start over. You can find people who believe in you even when you don't believe in yourself. He held up the award. This isn't for me. This is for everyone who ever took the fall for someone else, who sacrificed everything for love, who thought they'd lost their chance. You didn't. Your story isn't over. The applause was deafening. Marcus stepped off the stage. Cameras followed him. Reporters shouted questions. James guided him to a side room. Closed the door. The noise cut off. That was a hell of a speech, James said. Marcus laughed. Actually laughed. For the first time in 8 years. I have no idea what I just said. You said exactly what people needed to hear. James pulled out a folder. Now we need to talk business. You're officially the COO of Ecolux as of today. Salary, $2 million a year. Plus your 20% equity, worth $840 million. Plus stock options. Plus bonuses. Marcus stared at the numbers. This is real. It's real. You're a rich man, Marcus. Very rich. Marcus sat down. Hard. I was in prison 3 hours ago. And now you're a CEO. James sat beside him. Welcome back to the world. The door opened. Emma and Sophie came in. They threw their arms around Marcus. All three of them crying. We're so proud of you, Dad, Emma said. Can we stay with you? Sophie asked. We don't want to go back to Mom. Marcus held them tight. You never have to go back. You're with me now. Always. That night, Marcus checked into a hotel suite James had booked. 5-star. Penthouse level. View of the entire city. Emma and Sophie each got their own room. Marcus stood in the living room looking out at the skyline. 8 hours ago, he'd been in a prison cell. Now he was standing in a suite that cost $5,000 a night. His phone, a new one James had given him, buzzed. Text from an unknown number. Marcus, please. Let me explain. What you saw wasn't the whole story. I made mistakes, but I still love you. Please give me a chance to make this right. Vivian. Marcus looked at the message for a long time. Then he blocked the number. Deleted the message. Another text came in. James. FBI wants to know if you're pressing charges for the original fraud. Your call. Marcus typed back. Yes. 3 weeks later, Vivian was indicted on 47 counts of fraud, embezzlement, conspiracy, and perjury. The trial was set for 6 months out. Daniel was charged as an accessory. His offshore accounts were frozen. He posted bail and immediately left the country. Vanished. Interpol was looking for him, but he'd probably hidden in some country without extradition treaties. Marcus didn't care. Daniel was Vivian's problem now. Marcus spent those weeks settling into his new life. He bought a house. Nothing crazy. 4 bedrooms. Pool. Garden. Enough space for him and the girls. He hired a housekeeper. Got the girls enrolled in college for the spring semester. Set up trust funds so they'd never worry about money. He went to Ecolux headquarters. Met the staff. Toured the facilities. Started learning the business. It was strange. Wearing a suit. Having an office. Being called Mr. Chun by people who respected him. Being free. Emma and Sophie adjusted faster than Marcus did. They decorated their rooms. Made friends. Started planning for college. They visited him every day after his work. Ate dinner together. Talked about everything. Are you happy, Dad? Sophie asked one night over dinner. Marcus thought about it. I'm getting there. Do you hate Mom? Emma asked quietly. Marcus set down his fork. Looked at his daughters. They deserved honesty. No, I don't hate her. I'm angry. I'm disappointed. I wasted 8 years protecting someone who didn't deserve it. But hate takes too much energy. And I don't want to waste any more time on her. We told her we're not testifying for her, Sophie said. At the trial, she wanted us to say she's a good mother. That she made mistakes, but she loves us. What did you tell her? That she should have thought about that before she framed you. Emma's voice was hard. She chose Daniel over us. Over you. She doesn't get to play the victim now. Marcus reached across the table. Took their hands. You don't have to hate her. She's still your mother. A mother doesn't do what she did, Sophie said. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Emma changed the subject. Asked about work. About Ecolux. About the future. Marcus was grateful. He didn't want to talk about Vivian anymore. He wanted to talk about moving forward. 6 months later, Vivian's trial began. It lasted 4 weeks. The prosecution presented overwhelming evidence. Bank records, emails, testimony from Daniel's assistant who'd flipped, testimony from the private equity firm that bought Chin Textiles. Vivian's defense was weak. She claimed Marcus knew about everything, that they'd planned it together, that she was just following his orders. But the timeline didn't support that. The transfers happened while Marcus was in Italy. The emails were from Vivian's account. The offshore account was in Daniel's name with Vivian listed as a beneficiary. Marcus testified on day 12. He told the truth. All of it. How Vivian had come to him crying. How he'd offered to take the blame. How she'd promised to wait. How she'd sold the business and kept the money. How she'd planned her engagement party for his release day. The courtroom was packed. News crews. Journalists. People who'd followed the story. Vivian's lawyer tried to cross-examine. Mr. Chin, isn't it true that you were convicted of fraud? That you confessed? Yes. So you're a convicted criminal. Why should anyone believe you now? Marcus looked at the lawyer. Then at Vivian sitting at the defense table. Because I'm telling the truth. Finally, I lied 8 years ago to protect her. I'm not lying anymore. You expect us to believe you went to prison willingly? For a woman who you claim betrayed you. I don't expect you to believe anything. I'm just telling you what happened. Marcus's voice was calm. I loved her. I thought she loved me. I was wrong. That's all. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. Came back with a verdict. Guilty. All counts. Vivian was sentenced to 15 years in federal prison. No parole for at least 10 years. She screamed when the judge read the sentence. Had to be restrained by bailiffs. Kept screaming Marcus's name. Blaming him. Cursing him. Marcus sat in the gallery with Emma and Sophie. Watched Vivian being led away in handcuffs. Watched her disappear through the courtroom doors. Do you feel better? James asked. He'd come to the sentencing to support Marcus. No, Marcus said honestly. I don't feel anything. And that was true. He didn't feel vindicated. Didn't feel happy. Didn't feel satisfied. He just felt tired. Tired of thinking about Vivian. Tired of the trial. Tired of reliving the worst 8 years of his life. He wanted to be done. Let's go, Marcus said to the girls. Let's go home. They left the courthouse together. Ignored the reporters shouting questions. Got into Marcus's car, a Tesla Model S, nothing too flashy, and drove home. That night, Marcus sat in his backyard by the pool. Stars overhead. Emma and Sophie were inside watching a movie. His phone buzzed. Text from Vivian. She must have gotten access to a phone somehow. I hope you're happy. You destroyed me. After everything I did for you. After I waited for you. You destroyed me. Marcus read the message. Almost laughed. After everything she did for him? He typed back one sentence. I didn't destroy you. You destroyed yourself. Then he blocked her number. For the last time. Another text came in. James. Board meeting tomorrow at 9 a.m. We're discussing the European expansion. Also, Forbes wants to do a profile on you. From prison to billionaire. Interested? Marcus typed back. Yes to the meeting. No to Forbes. I'm done being famous. Fair enough. See you tomorrow, partner. Marcus set down his phone. Looked at his house. At the lights glowing in the windows. At his daughters visible through the glass, laughing at something on TV. This was his life now. Not perfect. Still complicated. Still healing from 8 years of damage. But his. 3 years after the trial, Marcus stood in his office at Ecolux headquarters. Floor-to-ceiling windows. View of the city skyline. Photos on his desk. Emma graduating from Columbia. Sophie graduating from NYU. Both of them successful. Happy. Building their own lives. Ecolux had grown to $8 billion. Marcus's 20% stake was now worth $1.6 billion. He'd reinvested most of it. Bought a small textile factory and converted it to employ formerly incarcerated people. Gave them jobs. Training. Second chances. Like James had given him. His assistant knocked on the door. Mr. Chin? There's someone here to see you. She doesn't have an appointment, but she says it's important. Who is it? A Ms. Vivian Hart. Marcus's stomach dropped. Vivian had been released early for good behavior. 2 months ago. He'd known this day might come. Do you want me to send her away? His assistant asked. Marcus thought about it. He could say yes. Could have security escort her out. Could avoid this conversation forever. But that would mean she still had power over him. Still made him afraid. And he was done being afraid. Send her in, Marcus said. Vivian walked into his office 2 minutes later. She looked older. Thinner. Prison had aged her. She wore simple clothes. No makeup. Hair pulled back. She stood in the doorway. Uncertain. Hello, Marcus. Vivian. Silence. Thank you for seeing me, Vivian said finally. I know you didn't have to. Why are you here? Vivian looked around the office. At the photos of the girls. At the awards on the walls. At the view of the city. I wanted to apologize. For real this time. Not because I want something. Not because I'm trying to get out of trouble. Just because I'm sorry. Marcus gestured to a chair. Sit. Vivian sat. Nervous. Fidgeting with her hands. I spent 12 years in prison, Vivian said quietly. I had a lot of time to think. About what I did. About who I was. About why I made the choices I made. And I was selfish. And cruel. And I destroyed the best thing I ever had. Her voice broke. I destroyed you. I destroyed our family. I destroyed our daughter's childhood. All because I wanted more. Wanted excitement. Wanted Daniel. She wiped her eyes. But I didn't want Daniel. I wanted an escape. From responsibility. From being a wife and mother and business partner. From being an adult. So I convinced myself I was in love with him. That you were boring. That I deserved better. Vivian looked at Marcus. But I didn't deserve better. I didn't deserve you at all. You loved me. Really loved me. Enough to go to prison for me. And I threw that away for a man who abandoned me the second things got hard. Daniel left the country, Marcus said. Did you know that? I heard. I also heard he got arrested in Argentina 6 months ago. Extradited back. He's in prison now too. Different prison than mine was, but still. She laughed bitterly. We both got what we deserved. Marcus leaned back in his chair. Why are you really here, Vivian? Because Emma and Sophie won't talk to me. I've tried calling. Writing. They won't respond. And I don't blame them. But I'm their mother. Her voice broke again. I just want them to know I'm sorry. That I know I failed them. That I understand if they never forgive me. But I'm sorry. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. I can't make them talk to you. That's their choice. I know. But I'll tell them you came. I'll tell them what you said. After that, it's up to them. Thank you. Vivian stood up. That's all I can ask for. She turned to leave. Stopped at the door. You look good, Marcus. Happy. I'm glad. You deserve it. She left. Marcus sat in his office for a long time after she was gone. Processing. Feeling things he thought he'd left behind. He didn't forgive her. Maybe he never would. But he also didn't hate her anymore. She was just someone he used to know. Someone who'd made terrible choices and paid for them. That night, Marcus told Emma and Sophie about Vivian's visit. They were having dinner at his house. A tradition they'd maintained for 3 years. She came to your office? Emma asked. Yes. What did she want? To apologize. To ask me to tell you she's sorry. Sophie set down her fork. Do you believe her? Marcus thought about it. I think she regrets what she did. I think prison changed her. But do I think she'd make different choices if she could do it over? He shook his head. I don't know. I'm not ready to talk to her, Emma said. Maybe someday. But not now. Me neither, Sophie agreed. That's okay, Marcus said. You don't owe her anything. Not even forgiveness. They finished dinner. Cleaned up together. Sat on the back patio watching the sunset. Dad, Sophie said. Are you dating anyone? Marcus laughed. Where did that come from? You're rich. Successful. Not terrible looking for an old guy. Sophie grinned. And Emma and I talked. We think you should get back out there. Out where? Dating. Relationships. Normal human things. Marcus shook his head. I'm not interested. Why not? Because I'm still figuring out who I am. What I want. I spent 8 years in prison and 3 years rebuilding my life. I'm not ready to let anyone in yet. When will you be ready? Emma asked. I don't know. Maybe never. Maybe I'm better alone. Nobody's better alone, Sophie said softly. Marcus looked at his daughters. At these strong, smart women who'd chosen him over their mother. Who'd stood by him through everything. I'm not alone, Marcus said. I have you too. I have James. I have the business. I have friends. That's enough. For now, Emma said. But someday, Dad. Someday you should let yourself be happy. Really happy. Not just okay. Marcus pulled them close. Hugged them both. I'll think about it. But deep down, Marcus wasn't sure he'd ever be ready to trust someone that way again. To let someone in. To risk being hurt. Some wounds healed. Some didn't. And maybe that was okay. 5 years after his release, Marcus stood on stage at a university auditorium. He'd been invited to give a commencement speech. The first ex-convict to speak at this particular university's graduation. The auditorium was packed. Graduates in caps and gowns. Families. Faculty. Press. Marcus looked out at the crowd. At Emma and Sophie sitting in the front row, now 23 years old. Both successful in their own careers. Both proud of their father. Thank you for inviting me, Marcus began. I'm standing here today as a CEO. As a billionaire. As someone the world considers successful. But 5 years ago, I was standing in a prison yard wearing someone else's clothes and wondering if my life was over. He paused. Let that sink in. I went to prison for a crime I didn't commit. I took the blame for someone I loved. Someone who betrayed me. And I lost 8 years of my life. My freedom. My business. My family. Everything. The graduates listened. Silent. Attentive. When I got out, I had nothing. No money. No home. No job prospects. Just prison clothes and $200 gate money. And I thought that was it. I thought I destroyed my life with one bad choice. Marcus smiled. But I was wrong. Because on that same day, I found out my best friend had given me a second chance. Had made me a partner in his company while I was in prison. Had turned me into a billionaire without me knowing. He gestured to James, sitting in the front row. James nodded. I'm not telling you this story to brag. I'm telling you because I want you to understand something. Your life is not defined by one choice. One mistake. One betrayal. One failure. Your life is defined by what you do next. Marcus's voice got stronger. I could have stayed angry. Could have spent the rest of my life hating the woman who sent me to prison. Could have let bitterness destroy me. But I chose something else. I chose to move forward. To build something new. To use what happened to me as fuel instead of poison. He looked at the graduates. At their young faces. At their hope and fear and uncertainty. Some of you will be betrayed. Some of you will fail. Some of you will make terrible choices that cost you everything. And when that happens, you'll have two options. Stay in that moment. Let it define you. Let it destroy you. Or stand up. Dust yourself off. And build something new. The auditorium was silent. I chose to build, Marcus said. And if I can do it at 43, with a felony conviction and nothing to my name, you can do it too. Whatever happens to you, whatever you face, whatever you lose, you can rebuild. You can start over. You can become someone new. He held up a hand. But here's the important part. You don't have to do it alone. I couldn't have rebuilt without James. Without my daughters. Without people who believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. So when you fall, and you will fall, find those people. Hold on to them. Let them help you. Because that's not weakness. That's survival. Marcus looked at Emma and Sophie. They were crying. Proud tears. To the class of 2028, Marcus said. Your life is just beginning. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to get hurt. You're going to fail. And that's okay. Because failure isn't the end. It's just the middle. What matters is what you do next. The crowd erupted in applause. Standing ovation. Cameras flashing. Graduates cheering. Marcus stepped off the stage. James met him at the bottom. Hell of a speech. I meant every word. Emma and Sophie rushed over. Hugged him tight. We're so proud of you, Dad, Emma said. I'm proud of you too, Marcus said. Both of you. Every day. Later that night, Marcus sat in his study at home. Awards on the walls. Photos of his daughters. A life he'd built from nothing. His phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. I watched your speech online. You were always good with words. I'm glad you found happiness. You deserve it. V. Marcus stared at the message. Vivian. Still reaching out. Still trying to be part of his life somehow. He thought about responding. Thought about saying thank you. Thought about asking how she was doing. Then he deleted the message. Blocked the number. Again. Because some chapters needed to stay closed. Some people needed to stay in the past. Not out of hate. Not out of bitterness. But because moving forward meant leaving certain things behind. Marcus turned off his phone. Walked upstairs. Got ready for bed. Tomorrow was another board meeting. Another day of building Ecolux. Another day of the life he'd earned. And that was enough. Marcus Chun, ex-convict turned billionaire, went to sleep in his own bed, in his own house, surrounded by people who loved him. Free. Finally, completely free. Not just from prison, but from the past, from the pain, from the woman who'd betrayed him, from the anger that had once threatened to consume him. He'd survived. He'd rebuilt. He'd won. Not by destroying Vivian, but by refusing to let her destroy him. And that was the sweetest victory of all. Marcus Chun expanded Ecolux to 23 countries over the next decade. The company is now valued at $15 billion, making Marcus's stake worth $3 billion. He's considered one of the most influential figures in sustainable manufacturing. He founded the Second Chance Initiative, which employs over 2,000 formerly incarcerated people across 47 facilities. The program has a 94% success rate in preventing recidivism. Emma Chun is now a federal prosecutor specializing in white-collar crime. Sophie Chun runs a nonprofit providing legal aid to wrongfully convicted individuals. Both credit their father's experience for inspiring their careers. Vivian Hart served 12 years of her 15-year sentence. She was released in 2037 and currently works at a women's shelter in Ohio, helping formerly incarcerated women rebuild their lives. She has not remarried. Emma and Sophie speak to her occasionally. It took 6 years, but they eventually found a way to forgive her, not for her sake, but for their own. Daniel Park served 8 years in Argentina before being extradited. He's currently serving a 20-year sentence in federal prison for fraud and conspiracy. He has not contacted anyone from his past. James Park remains Marcus's closest friend and business partner. Ecolux is now the third-largest sustainable textile company in the world. This is a reminder. Never underestimate the person you humiliate in their lowest moment. They might be the one who owns everything in their highest. If this story moved you, subscribe. Drop a comment. Would you have taken the fall for someone you loved? Share this with someone who needs to hear that your story isn't over. See you in the next one.